How to tie the strongest Pitzen knot in the world. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom! Yes, really excited. This is the 7th episode of the world's strongest knot, and we're looking at the Pitzen knot today. Can't wait. Really excited, as I said. Let's check it out. Oh my gosh, they all behave so differently. They all got these tweaks. Well, let me stop there. They all got a little twist, a wrap here, tuck there, this way, that way, who knows. You're watching the world's strongest knot. I'm Warren, and today we're going to be looking at the Pitzen knot. So grab a brew, get the kettle on, and let's see if a reverse or backward slant on a clinch knot can actually work. If you have not seen our overview video on the Pitzen knot, click up here where we'll look into these minor details on the Pitzen knot. Also, we've done a lot of overviews in our Monster Knot Shakedown series on all other knots. Check them out as well. Click up here if you want to know exactly how to tie this German knot. There's also many other knots we've looked at in our Unwrapped series you may be interested in checking out. And if you've got time, please like, please subscribe, and please check out our website. For those of you joining us for the first time, these are our broad parameters we follow for the World's Strongest Knot series. Number 1, remaining unbiased, no mention of line manufacturers. Number 2, testing knots on monofilament, on fluorocarbon, and on braid. Number 3, testing knots on 5 different line weights, categories in the 10 pound class, 30 pound, 50 pound, 80 pound, and 100 pound. Number 4, all knots compared to the actual 100% line strength that we've measured on this machine, not what it says on the manufacturer's packaging or label, statement or strength, whatever. Number 5, batch control on all lines, including retesting. If we get a new batch of lines in, we'll retest them. Number 6, our results will be converted into a percentage and compared against the main line, which will be the baseline or the maximum achievable strength. Number 7, we'll give you data on the exact amount of wraps we've used for every single knot. Number 8, overall percentage for the knot for each line category, monofilament, fluorocarbon, and braid. And number 9, over 450 results were compared on this knot. So, tip of the day, love this bit, know what your fishing knot looks like. If you're learning a new knot, keep a photograph on your phone of it, video link, etc, etc. It's no good arriving with your buddies to go fishing, things are going off and you can't remember if you need 3 wraps or 8 wraps with fluorocarbon, with braid, whatever. It really does help to know and do your homework on it. Also, keep a record of the charts I'll show you later. Make a mental note and practice your knots, especially if it's a new knot. It's alarming actually what I've seen, and we'll discuss it in detail in my summary later on. Right, let's get stuck in and see how this knot performs. Let's take a look and see if it holds up with its German engineering. Monofilament, how did the Pitzen knot do? Was it as smooth as a good froth on a Pilsner? 10 pound monofilament, 13.8 pounds actual measured line strength, 6 wraps and 74.59%. 30 pound monofilament, 42.2 pounds actual measured line strength, 5 wraps and dropping to 69.84%. 50 pound monofilament line, 66.79 pounds, 4 wraps and 75.93%. 80 pound monofilament line, 103.53 pounds, 4 wraps and 65.57%. And 100 pound monofilament line, 117.96 pounds, 4 wraps and 74.92%. Right, on 100% fluorocarbon leader, I hope things get better here. That was really disappointing before. Right, 10 pound fluorocarbon line, 11.41 pounds actual measured line strength, 3 wraps and 80.35%. 30 pound fluorocarbon line, 27.59 pounds actual measured line strength, 3 wraps and 80.79%. 50 pound fluorocarbon line, 42.35 pounds actual measured line strength, 3 wraps and 77.55%. 80 pound fluorocarbon line, 58.68 pounds actual measured line strength, 3 wraps and 91.75%. Finally, on braid lines, let's see if we get a similar problem to the monofilament fiasco. Nothing to celebrate about, but let's have a look. 10 pound braided line, 21.7 pounds, 10 wraps and 76.58%. 30 pound braided line, 32.16 pounds, 10 wraps and 75.03%. 50 pound braided line, 55.05 pounds, 10 wraps and dropping to 63.11%. 80 pound braided line, 85.89 pounds actual measured line strength, 10 wraps and dropping again 62.06%. And 100 pound braided line, 93.74 pounds actual measured line strength, 10 wraps and 64.98%. Alright, monofilament, let's take a look at the results. Yeah, 72.17%. Well, look, 7th place, that's not great, but what's more worrying is the 72.17%. Right, it reminds me a little bit of a, back to this beer subject, a Pilsner, a pommy beer, one of these pints, no gas in it, lukewarm. I mean, what is that all about? Right, let's take a look at fluorocarbon and see if we can get some Va-Va-Voom, or is that French? Let's see if we can get some Vorsprung. Let's take a look at the results. 82.61%. Now that's a better result. That's an improvement straight in to number 5. So that knocks down the clinch knot and the improved clinch knot. Interesting result there. Fluorocarbon slightly better. It might be because it's slightly more gentle on the front end, especially with the fluorocarbon not liking all these tight bends. Might be a bit more gentle at the front. Yeah, who knows, but right, let's take a look at braid. This is a tough nut to crack, keep saying it. Those thicker lines, 80, 50 and 100 pound class, really difficult to crack. Let's take a look. 68.35%. Well, yeah, again another flat beer. Yeah, just not great. Yeah, disappointing to say the least. Well, that's another disappointing result there for braid. 7th position, flat beer scenario, not great. Yeah, I'd be concerned using this knot on monofilament and on braid. That's a lot of percentage down. Yeah. Well, that knot is really poor, but I'm going to tell you exactly why this knot performs and struggles this badly. So referring to the Toit knot testing video, I went over the most important knot principle of them all. Click up here if you haven't seen that, that's worth a look. And this is the principle. Basically, a knot success is down to how much movement within the knot it can prevent happening whilst it's being used. So the more movement you have, the more damage you have. The more damage you have, well, I don't need to say anymore. This knot, there's far too much unhindered movement within the knot. It kind of can do whatever it likes. It's only cinched down at the very end of the knot. So the line goes down, it goes up, it takes a wander around its loops, it's doing all this funky moves business, doing a bit of a waltz here, a bit of a trot here, moving all about, not really doing anything if I'm honest, just kind of random raps and everything, and then at the end it's got this stop a bit going, oh guys, everything in front of me has to stop moving now, and it's like, well, I've already done all the damage, too late buddy, the standing line's pulled through at the front and it's snapped. Well, it's not great, it's just, there's no restriction, you've seen the results. Look, I mean, you got to be careful. Okay, look, reservations, fluorocarbon, give it a whirl if you want. 82%, it's not bad. But I mean, like I say, I've tested 450 knots on this thing, and it just, it was pretty bad. I mean, some of the results, well, have a look at them. Yeah. Okay, so look, we learnt one thing today. We learned that the Pitzen Knot isn't great on monofilament and on braid. Look at the results again, check them out. I certainly wouldn't be recommending anyone to tie this knot, especially on those two line types. You may love this knot, but yeah, I'm just not convinced, I must say. It's just not great. However, and this is the one but, however, this knot, the technique for tying this knot does lead itself to a really good popular knot. I'm going to drop one hint here and I'm going to give you one single word, and that's the word padre. Right, I'm Warren, this is Toit Fishing. You've just watched the Pitzen Knot, World's Strongest Knot, episode 7. Get a cup of tea, get a brew if you're staying on, watching some more content. Please like, please subscribe, please get on our website. Yes, enjoyed, I thoroughly enjoyed testing the Pitzen Knot. For me it really helped me understand a lot more about these knots. It's good to know good knots, but it's also really good to know poor knots and how they fail, because it helps you in your understanding on how these knots behave. That principle I mentioned earlier, really important. I know I'm waffling a bit now, but try and understand that a bit more. I might even do a whole video just on that knot principle. It's really key for understanding and helping you choose a good knot over another good knot. Yeah, check out our Toit knot on the summaries in the World's Strongest Knot. I've got some good stuff in there that I've said about the Toit knot, but it will also, again, it'll back up the statement I've said in this video as well, with regards to knot principles and how you can understand how the fishing line behaves within a knot, and if you've got this movement or this additional line doing nothing within a knot, how it can damage and actually affect the performance of the knot to a point where it's well, like I say, it's almost unusable at those percentages. Yeah, be cautious. I'm sure, look, if you're fishing a third of your line weight on your drag and you're not really putting any pressure on the line, you know, I mean, 70%, yeah, you're not going to struggle, because you only got sort of 35% or whatever of your drag set on your line coming off the reel. So yeah, you're never going to lose a fish. But again, it depends how you fish. I don't really fish like that. If I'm catching an 80-pound fish, I try and use as much drag as possible. yeah, it's kind of that old sort of fishing. Well, that's the way I was kind of taught. If you're catching a 10-pound fish, you want to use 10-pound line. If you're catching an 80-pound fish, you want to use 80-pound line. So it adds to that sort of competitive edge to the fishing thing, and that's why I think when you're selecting knots and you're losing 30 or 35% on line strength because you've chosen a junk knot, yeah, you really need to go back to the books and really look at waffling again, and really look at what knots you're tying. Anyway, stay tuned. Got loads of content coming up. Can't wait to bring that to you. All right.